the tallest and the most majestic. I am practically the Beyonce of Christmas tree.
I don't think so.
Ernestine. Ernestine.
Yes.
You guys are all cute, but I have the perfect height, the perfect measure, and that perfect pine scent.
Really? I don't think so. I don't think so. What?
Oh, way. Wow. That's interesting.
No one wants to buy me.
They use aluminum. They don't want an aluminum tray. Who wants an aluminum tray?
Oh, look at the artificial. Think that she can compete with all of us?
Well, she can't. No, she can't. She can't compete with us. Look at us.
Yeah, look at us.
Look at us.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, glow.
Majestic.
Oh,
we're so
glow.
majestic.
Even real.
Right. You're not even real.
We're so majestic. Oh, look at us.
Gorgeous.
Look at her.
And that star just makes you even look more ridiculous.
Sure do.
Ha ha. Oh my goodness. Oh,
just maybe you should hold it there, and maybe someone will purchase you as a bonus.
Right. Bonus tray. Bonus tray.
Bonus. Customer.
yeah.
What are you doing? No one is going to pick you.
No, they're not gonna pick you. No, they're not.
Not in the least. They would pick any of us before you.
please call the roll. Here. Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year to you all. We're going to start with ordinance number 1314 by Councilmember Jones, an emergency ordinance designating New Sardis Primitive Baptist Church, formerly Kinsman Jewish Center, as a Cleveland landmark. Brother Carl? That's right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody this morning?
Everybody's good.
Excellent. Carl Brunges, Cleveland Landmark staff. New Sardis. Thank you. Okay. All right. This property is located on the north side of Kinsman Road between East 146th and East 147th Street in the Kinsman Mount Pleasant neighborhood in Ward 1. This section of Cleveland is a part of Warrensville Township. This was part of the property owned by Mary Dubroy, which was stretched from Kinsman Road to the north side of present-day Milverton Road between East 146th and 147th Street, which is about 25.5 acres. Later, by 1898, the first portion of land in this area was subdivided across the street. In 1905, there was a desire to incorporate a neighborhood called East View Village, and it appears first vote either failed or was postponed, since a second vote was proposed to include original lots 41 through 45, 51 through 55 inclusive, and parts of 46 and 56. The village was incorporated, and in 1910, a proposal for a new four-room schoolhouse had been issued. Soon after, in 1911, the village asked to secede from Warrensville Township to become its own township. A primary factor was to escape the township road taxation assessment. Warrensville Township balked at the idea, as their town hall and cemetery were located in the proposed boundaries. Development demand in the area was increasing as the Van Swearingens were creating Shaker Heights Village, which was incorporated in 1912. In 1913, the city of Cleveland annexed Newburgh City and a small part of Eastview Village. In 1917, this saw portions of Eastview Village and Warrensville Township annexed by the city of Cleveland up to East 156th Street, including the property we are discussing today. The Kinsman Mount Pleasant area appealed to many Jewish families as early as 1916. By 1925, about 30% of Cleveland's Jewish population lived in this area. This neighborhood was more ethnically mixed, it was newer, and working class. While other Jewish neighborhoods like Glenville had larger, more architecturally elaborate buildings, this area did not have anything to compare to that. The Kinsman Jewish Center, as well as other Orthodox synagogues, the Jewish Carpenters Hall, the main branch of the Workmen's Circle, and the Council Educational Alliance's central facilities were examples of Jewish life here. The Kinsman Jewish Center congregation was incorporated in 1930 after the merger of two separate congregations the previous year. It was one of the first Orthodox congregations to be organized along non-national lines. The building was constructed primarily by the members, who were mostly of Eastern European origin and were tradesmen, including carpenters and painters. In 1932, the building was dedicated, and though it was originally planned to be the community center, it would be used as a synagogue when the second phase of construction was abandoned. Maxwell Weiss was a native of New Haven, Connecticut, and relocated to Cleveland about 1910. He specialized in residential and commercial structures. His brother Samuel was also an architect, and they have over 100 buildings currently attributed to them. They changed their last name to White in the early 1940s. Maxwell's son, George Malcolm White, followed in his father's footsteps, sharing the office with him until he was appointed the architect of the U.S. Capitol building by President Richard Nixon. The Jewish Kinsman Center congregation grew quickly in importance and size, from fewer than 30 original families to almost 400 families by 1940. The center established a daily afternoon Hebrew school, a sisterhood, and created one of the first synagogue-sponsored Jewish nursery schools in the city in 1950. During the 50s, it also formed a Young Women's League, which provided recreational program for boys and girls. So why did this neighborhood become one of the larger Jewish settlements in Cleveland, and when did it transition into being an African-American neighborhood? I want to speak a little about events happening nationally and locally, and this is intended to be a brief overview and not a deep dive into this, because we could probably talk about this subject for a very long time, and there's a lot of other moving parts, so we need to understand context of the country at this time. At the same time this neighborhood was being developed, the United States was seeing the great migration of African Americans from the South to the northern states looking for a better way of life and job opportunities. The first portion of this is generally listed as 1910 to 1940. In 1917, the Supreme Court ruled that racially based housing ordinances were unconstitutional in Buchanan v. Worley. Due to this decision, a rise in race-based deed restriction occurred during the next decades. It would not be until 1948 in Shelley v. Kramer that enforcement of these restrictive covenants in state courts were also deemed unconstitutional. However, these covenants on their own were not deemed unconstitutional, and private parties could still abide by them. So these would mostly affect non-white Americans, immigrants, all the way into the 1970s. In 1962, President Kennedy issued Executive Order 11063, directing all departments and agencies in the executive branch of the federal government to take all action necessary and appropriate to prevent discrimination in relation to the provision, rehabilitation, or operation of housing and related facilities. Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 expanded on previous acts and prohibited discrimination concerning the sale, rental, and financing of housing based on race, religion, national origin, sex, and as amended, handicap, and family status. During the development of Shaker Heights and other neighborhoods, early deed covenants included setbacks, a minimum amount spent on the house, no barns, etc. In 1925, a new restriction was added to the deeds. While not overtly discriminatory, this allowed the company to control who would live in the neighborhoods by requiring written consent of the company for all sales of property. If consent was not given, buyers could submit a waiver for consideration. This required the signatures of a majority of owners of adjacent lots for approval. The Van Swearingen Company went into bankruptcy with many unsold lots. Events in Shaker Heights in 1953 would eventually lead to the removal of the language that would require neighbor consent. When this happened, it allowed for the mass purchase of land by the Jewish community, enabling them to move further east. In 1959, the Van Swearingen bankruptcy ending and the remaining properties were transferred to the National City Bank of Cleveland. As early as 1949, the congregation had discussed eastward movement.
It's freezing.
The building would be sold following the split of the membership, temporarily worshiping elsewhere before merging with two other congregations. There were some challenges in researching the founder of New Sardis Primitive Baptist Church. I could not find any information on him prior to 1906. And then his last name had 8 different variant spellings between different sources. So it was trying to put all this together to follow this, because there are also no early church records. Abraham Gristle was born in Alabama and was in Chattanooga, Tennessee by 1906. He was employed at a local factory and lived in Bushtown, a black neighborhood. In 1914, he was listed as the pastor of New Sardis Primitive Baptist Church in the local city directory. This is the first listing of this church in this area, and although not the first of this denomination. His name did not appear with the church in subsequent directories, and in 1917, he relocated to Cleveland. Although the 1920 census noted his occupation as pastor, the church did not appear in the directories until 1922. I was able to track those movements with the church and the pastor using the directories. Let's see. Pastor Gristle died in 1936. During the Great Depression, there was quite a bit of movement and instability. One source noted membership down was to single digits. The era of growth came upon the arrival of Dr. Reverend A.J. W. Warren. He moved to Cleveland from Alabama in 1935 and became the pastor of the church in 1939. 1940 is considered the beginning of the Second Great Migration. This migration to Cleveland continued until the mid-1960s. With growth, new locations with more room were sought, and their movement shows that. Eventually, in 1958, arriving at the Kinsman Jewish Center property. The new location would also include the gas station at the corner and the house next door. The membership grew and became the largest of its denomination, associated with the National Primitive Baptist Council north of the Mason-Dixon line, a distinction it still holds today. While there was a drop in the membership after Warren's untimely passing, the church had a resurgence in the 1990s to about 600 to 700 members. And this is when the new building, or the new addition, was finally put on. And according to the building records, the garage was demolished in 1973 and the house in 1998. The addition was designed by local architects William and James Whitley. Established in 1963, they were later joined by their sister Joyce. They designed buildings in this neighborhood and throughout the city and had contributions throughout the Midwest and East Coast. Recently, they had their first project designated as a Cleveland landmark, which was Advent Evangelical Lutheran Church. Significance is, character is important to the movement of the Jewish and African American communities throughout the city. It is a distinctive in it's a regular character here. So while it doesn't have, the older section doesn't have huge architectural elements, it's very minimal architectural elements, it does speak to the working class significance here. And there are other buildings still in this neighborhood that could qualify for landmark status as well. And then we have some of the current conditions. It generally maintains its integrity. You can see above the doors that they tried to rub out the Kinsman Jewish Center, and they put a cap over the original cornerstone, which you see a lot because you see people moving into older buildings and wanting to establish their own identity. So they tried to do that, but at least it still remains. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Wow. And again, another great history lesson here this morning, Carl. Thank you so much for the presentation. I ride past this building a lot on Kinsman. You know, they are very active in the community for many years. I know Councilman Joe Jones works with them on a regular basis, and so I'm glad to see that this has come forward. As you said, there's many other. I know it is, man. It's just a lot of those buildings that line Kinsman and Union, other places. A lot of them we've lost to demolition, but you know, some of them can be that are occupied can be landmarked, and so hopefully we'll see more of these coming along from 105th Street. Well, no, Councilman Johnson did a lot of 105 and other places, but Kinsman and other places around the city where, you know, we can see these designations taking place. So thank you for the information. Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing no questions, I know Councilman Jones is in support. Ordinance number 1314 stands approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 1167 by Councilmembers Harrison and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the director of city planning to exercise the first option to renew contract number PS 2024-0030 with Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated to provide professional services for on-call planning services. All right, good morning, Interim Director Fields. How are you, sir? Have a presentation. I'm assuming that they're going to pull up?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to tell us why you want to exercise this first option to renew.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Good morning. Okay. Let's see, I think that's, oh, okay, I guess this is, okay. Yeah, so we are, as you said, here to extend the contract for on-call services. In 2023, we did put out an RFP and received responses from several 15 actually qualified responses from consulting organizations. And from that, we selected Stantec to be our consultant. We hired them to do things like planning, design, engineering, and engagement services, which really helps to supplement what our staff is capable of doing. Our staff, while they are very talented, there are some things that we don't have on staff, like engineering services and things like that. So they really help to supplement that and help us to move forward different projects that we have in the works that we want to try to move forward, and just those like small pieces really can help us get over the hump. So that's kind of the purpose of it. This slide here just shows several different initiatives that are happening that we're engaged in city planning, and the projects that we had Stantec work on really kind of feed into this, helping to move forward the goals and initiatives of the city, of Mayor Bibb and our department. And so our total budget was $200,000. We have expended $189,826 of that money, and then because we were initially intending to come in June, we actually, between that time and now, have identified the use for the remaining balance, which will go towards getting cost estimates for TLD housing around Wood Hill and Buckeye RTA station. So, and that actually fits into a larger plan for that area. There was a plan study done by RTA a while back that actually identified that as an opportunity for that type of housing. So this is an opportunity really to move that forward as well. So one of the projects that we had Stantec work on is East 55th study, which ran from North Marginal to Doloff, and it's an area where there is a high injury network that had 18 fatal or serious injury crashes between 2019 and 2023. And so what the task that we had them complete was confirming the vision for the roadway, proposing bicycle treatments to create low stress, north-south connections, maintaining local access and functionality, industrial warehouse use, complement cross-street plans and designs. And so they have done a considerable amount of engagement around that. This is actually a key part of the Vision Zero strategy as well. And so this slide kind of just shows some of the things that they'll be addressing, looking at existing conditions, the engagement outreach efforts, challenge area focus, which is Wood Hill, Kinsman and East 55th, the Euclid and 55th intersection, and Superior and East 55th. So those are some of the areas where we had a lot of issues and wanted to try to focus on those areas. Also proposing safety countermeasures, which they are in the process of doing now, and so they'll be completing that work over the next, I think, few months. And then in recommending the implementation logistics like cost estimates and recommended materials. And this is just an image showing the outreach that has happened. They designed a logo, which the logo is supposed to be like a pinpoint of where the study is taking place, so East 55th. And they updated project materials to reflect the brand identity, facilitating pop-up engagements, and designing graphics for social media and other outreach. And so I'll pass it over to Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to go on to our next project, one of the other projects we scoped and executed with Stantec is the Payne Avenue striping plan. Payne Avenue is a roadway that's under construction right now. It's being done in 2 phases. And as a part of this project, this was a corridor we identified along with our partners in the community like Bike Cleveland and others as an opportunity to sort of rethink the way we look at protected bike infrastructure. Protected bike infrastructure is something that our community, that's right, our community's been asking for this for a long time, and we saw this opportunity on Payne to do that given the width of the roadway, the stage of the project. And so Stantec is designing what will be the city's first implemented parking protected bike lanes. And this is an exciting project, not just for what it will mean for Payne Avenue, but the practice of working with Stantec and this on-call contract also helps our staff across the city, not just in planning, but in public works and capital projects, to understand how we can continue to do this in other areas of the city. And so part of this is not only to get the specific outcome on pain, but to build understanding in terms of how we design, engineer, and importantly, maintain these types of facilities, because it's what we're asking for, it's what's demonstrated as best practice in terms of safety, and helps us coordinate as well with other partners like RTA in terms of how buses interact with these types of facilities as well. And it's not implemented yet, but this is an example, a visualization of what we expect it will look like. So if you're not too familiar with parking protected bike lanes, these are some examples from Ohio and other parts of the country. I believe the photo on the right is from Cincinnati. Another example, we've done a lot of engineering and design projects with this in order to sort of catch up with the work we're trying to do and the demands that are being made of us in terms of our mobility and transportation. One of those projects is what we're calling the Downtown One-Way Pairs Plan. This is between Prospect and Huron. So essentially, we're doing a plan to convert Prospect and Huron Road downtown east of Ontario. So this is essentially around the baseball stadium, the basketball arena, to convert those streets into one-way streets, which is essentially what our safety department does anyway during games. They convert these roads into one-way roads in order to facilitate car access in and out of the parking garages for events. And so that's an opportunity we saw to not only implement that permanently to facilitate those events, but to also create more space for other uses. Notably, we'll add a bike facility as a part of this and expand patio space to help reactivate that curb space for restaurants and to make it more of a place where people who come downtown for events want to stay and spend more time, whether it's before or after a game. And so the scope includes the striping plan and also help us identify materials and ways we can do this. So it does end up being maybe more complicated than it might seem at first. So this is an example of some of the work that Stantec is doing for us. The green represents that bike facility. It won't actually be painted green, but we colored it this way so it's just more visually apparent. And the tan represents area that's essentially reclaimed from car space. So this is space that can be programmed into safety measures like a protected crosswalk, for example. There's a refuge island now that will be built into that crosswalk. The tan space that's around the sides there could be additional patio space. And many of the businesses and property owners that we've already talked to are really excited about being able to engage in that space. This will be space similar to the parklets that were implemented during COVID. So this is an exciting project as well. And again, some visual representations of what that'll look like. This photo on the left is from New York. They've already done something similar where they're tightening up their roadway space. They're reclaiming that space for people to use in some cases. So we're looking forward to this as well. And the goal for this project we'll implement it later this spring. And again, just an example of the materials we're looking at. We're looking at precast or cast in place concrete barriers for the bike facility, and then areas where this is already existing across the city, quick curb delineators to help separate that space. This is a quick build project, and so the goal long term would be to make this a permanent capital project eventually once we implement it as a quick build. 22nd?
Okay, yeah, East 22nd is a public art project along the ODOT Bridge. It is something that was initiated by the community, and they have started it. It should be complete, I believe they said in the spring, but this is still ongoing, and hopefully will be something that really kind of beautifies that area. So this is pretty simple.
Another task that we scoped and executed with Stantec is looking at the development potential in the Columbus Peninsula area. This is an area of the city where it's adjacent to what's going on with the Shore to Quarter Shore initiative, the Bedrock Project, lakefront investments. And so wanting to understand how we can look at leveraging the existing land that's there that the city owns, the bulkhead space, that riverfront space, to try to reactivate it with partners like the Metro Parks, for example. This is actually a project that is intended to help scope a U.S. Army Corps project. So we've engaged the U.S. Army Corps. Their main office is in Buffalo. They have a satellite office here downtown. And so they would actually help us go and dive the bulkhead and understand what the condition it is in now, where is it in good condition, where is it in relatively poor condition, to help us identify where the city can come in and leverage that condition to help improve access to work with property owners because much of the bulkhead here is privately owned. So that's an overview of that task. And I think that's it.
Okay. And so this is a slide that I think you guys have seen before at the operational hearing, which is basically the 2025 overall work plan for city planning. And one of our biggest projects this year will be the citywide plan, which we will engage all of you in. And then there are other plans, the Cleveland Moves Mobility Plan, form-based code pilot expansion, and then other small area plans, lakefront, riverfront planning, transportation and design. And so these plans, what you see here on this slide, with our on-call services, we'll be able to utilize that also to try to move some of these projects forward as well. So this, we want to, we want to try to look at areas where maybe we don't have the expertise, but we can really kind of help move some of these along with our on-call services. And so our request today is to authorize planning to exercise our first option to renew with Stantec. And also, we have encumbered $100,000 from fiscal year 2024 to supplement the remaining balance. I'm sorry. Yeah, so the remaining balance, what we had before was $10,000. We don't have that balance anymore. So that will be used for the Woodhill Buckeye. So, but the $100,000 has been encumbered. So that is our request.
All right, thank you. So I'm clear. The $10,000 that was remaining from the initial $200,000 is now been designated for the Buckeye area.
Yes.
Right?
That's correct.
You want to renew, 1-year renewal with Stantec, and it'll be $100,000.
Correct.
Right? So was the $100,000 already budgeted for?
Yeah, it should be in our budget. Yeah, it is.
Mr. Tyson, do we know that if the $100,000 that they're requesting is already budgeted for in the 2024 budget?
I believe so. I'll double check.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I know he was also going back to look at the original contract. So that answers my question from 1,200, 2023. That allowed the first $200,000. For this $100,000, and I know you have some things that you mentioned that they want to work on for you. Our last issue was having work done before council has approved the dollar amount. So has any of this work been completed before already? And we're trying to go back and pay the work that we asked them to do that was above the dollar amount that we authorized?
No, it's not.
So it's not?
No.
So no work has been planned or asked to be completed before you came here to seek our approval?
No, that's
No.
correct. All the tasks that we have gave you an overview for, those are totally within the previous year's budget. And
Gotcha.
there's no work that's been authorized. Once we have this approval, we'll scope the remaining budget that we have for 2025.
Gotcha. Before I go to Councilman McCormick and then Councilman Harsh, what are the opportunities if there are initiatives that council members would like to see done in their neighborhood? I see a lot of the mayor's priorities on here, but I don't see any council member priorities on here, at least that I'm aware of. What's the opportunity if members of this committee and the body has things that they want to see completed in their neighborhood to come out of this Stantec contract?
Yeah, I think if there are projects that you would like to see move forward, if you just reach out to us, let us know what it is. We'll look at our entire budget and everything that we have going on and try to determine which ones kind of rise to the top. That's actually what we did for the previous year.
Okay.
We had a whole list of different projects that were happening all throughout the city, and we just kind of went through and ranked them according to priority and what can actually get done, and then we move forward with them. So yeah, if you have ideas that you want to share with us, please do.
Ranking always, I get nervous when I hear ranking and priority, so
Yeah.
Let's continue our conversation to figure that out. All right?
We can do that.
Thank you. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just here to speak in favor of this ordinance. I'm really excited to see these projects that have come out of this contract. Chair, to the director, is $200,000, is that enough for the scope that you would like to put in place?
For now, I would say yes.
Okay. And that's not, I'm a director and I have to say yes because my chief told me to say yes, yes?
No.
Okay, okay. Because that happens a lot when we talk about budget at this table. All the directors say, yes, we have what we need, and then you find out they don't have what they need, and it's a whole thing. Can you go back a couple slides, whoever's controlling this, please?
Sure.
More, yeah, a couple more. So let's
this
stop
one?
at that one.
Okay.
Chair, I just want to highlight, I really do appreciate that the city is looking at affordable quick build for these projects. God bless the Midway and Lorraine Avenue, but getting away from $30 million projects to make our streets safer, I think, is a really good approach to this.
Right.
A lot of, as you all, both of you know, but just for the viewing public, a lot of cities are using much more affordable treatments to make roads safer for pedestrians and folks in wheelchairs and cyclists, et cetera. So I'm really happy to see this, and I hope that this is the approach that we continue on. And can you go back another slide, please?
Sure.
One more. I just want to highlight this too, Mr. Chairman. I mean, this is a horrible intersection as it is today for everybody involved, pedestrians, drivers, cyclists. So I'm really happy to see that there's real attention being paid to this area. If you're driving this, it is very confusing. What do you do at this intersection? If you're walking it, the driver is confused, the pedestrian is confused, the cyclist is confused. So I'm just really happy to see that this really busy intersection is getting a hard look. And the only thing I would just highlight, Chair, to the director, what is your title on that? I don't know. It's the manager of strategic. Okay, so the director and the manager. Just that pedestrian crossing there, right now it's pretty bad. Mm-hmm. You kind of have to cut into what feels like a private patio. Right. So just kind of thinking through that, I would highlight that. And then if you could go back another one, Chairman to the director. One more. I just want to pause here for a minute and say hallelujah. As Matt knows and the director knows, we've been talking about parking protected bike lanes for 375 years. And other cities have done this across the country. New York, Washington, et cetera, that are much busier, have much larger populations, have a much busier central business district, and they've been able to get it done. So I want to commend the team for pushing this. This, Mr. Chairman, allows to retain parking on the street, which and a protected bike lane. It's an and, not an or. Right. And I actually believe, having used these on a bike in other cities, they're safer because you have a 3,000-pound metal box protecting you from people speeding or driving down the road. So I'm really, really encouraged to see these out of theory and actually on a construction drawing. And I hope that we look at applying this across the city of Cleveland because, again, to me, it's a win-win. It creates a really high-quality cycle infrastructure for folks, and it also retains parking on the street, which I think actually helps slow traffic. So I'd love to see, I'm thinking Detroit could be a great place to do this, and other places. So I just wanted to take a moment to pause, say hallelujah. I'm so happy to see this actually show up on a construction drawing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Can I add briefly to that, just by saying, based on your question earlier about how can council be involved in the councilman's comments, I think I would characterize a lot of what we've done this past year as sort of catching up with projects that people have asked us about, whether it's council members, residents, other stakeholders. And so looking forward, to the question of how much resources are we putting towards this, however much we have means going forward, we can do more forward-looking projects too. I think we've done 2024 a lot of catch-up and laying a lot of groundwork that will help us do these projects internally and with our own resources. And so what we want to do moving forward is look, well, how can we then continue to push the envelope and bring new ideas and new projects to Cleveland?
Thank you. Councilman Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have too many questions about the work being done. I'm generally supportive of it. I think everything we do downtown is going to help us when we put Fulton Road on a diet in just a few short years, right, and redo all of Fulton from Pearl up to Memphis. Some of this will inform our work when we get around to that project. I do have one question, if we can go to the slide. Was it Huron, that really funky intersection on 9th? it's just sort of from my own personal understanding. Is that Huron coming up out of the bottom there? Is that what so I see that correct? Yes. Okay. Is Huron one way in this diagram, like one way southwest, or what's going on there?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, to the councilman, I can answer that question. Huron, which is the road at the bottom of this image that comes up into Prospect and then 9th, that would be one way essentially east and then jogging north, as you see as it approaches Prospect.
And so
that
Prospect would be
intersection.
one way west?
Prospect would be one way west, yes.
Okay.
So going towards to the left of this image.
Got
Yeah.
it, got it. Okay. Because I was trying to figure out why there were 3 lanes when Huron ends into Prospect, those 3, because one's a left turn, one's a straight, and one's
Yes.
a right turn.
Yeah, sorry,
I get
that's a great question too. That's something right now, that's the existing condition. In the quick build version, we're more than likely going to leave it as is.
Yeah.
But because this is such a new change, that might be something that when we go to make it permanent or make adjustments to the
Yeah.
quick build, we may reduce that to 2 lanes.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
see.
All right. Again, Mr. Chair, I don't have many questions about the work. I'm supportive of the work. I do have questions about the money, though, because I don't quite understand everything. So the ordinance before us refers back to Ordinance 1200-2023, and I went back and looked at 1200-2023, and it does authorize us to renew the contract with Stantec, but I don't see any not to exceed clause, and I'm a big fan, Mr. Chair, of not to exceed clauses so that we know how much taxpayer money is being spent on these projects. I don't see one in the original 1200-2023, and I'm looking down at the law here. I don't know if you have a copy of it in front of you either. In 2023, it just said that we have the authority to renew. It doesn't say how much the renewal shall be for or how much it doesn't say. There's no not to exceed clause. So I would first ask my colleagues to consider a not to exceed 200,000. Although it is in section 3, line 1, shall not exceed 200,000. But then it says shall, and are renewals then automatically assumed also to not exceed 200,000?
Through the chair, I'd have to look at the legislation, but typically, yes, it would authorize further years to have the same budget.
So reauthorization would come with the same not to exceed clause of 200,000 written into the original? Is that our understanding?
Not my understanding. That pertains my belief is that it pertains to that particular authorization of that ordinance, not the subsequent renewal, because it also requires for additional legislative authority to
Right.
to authorize the additional renewals. So what I would suggest is, because they are asking for $100,000, that you make a motion to, and we can always make a change if we need to before it goes to finance, but which I don't see why we would need to make a motion to not to exceed this, in this ordinance 1167,
Right.
not to exceed $100,000.
And that's where I'm going with this, Mr. Chair, is I just think the ordinance constitutes additional legislative authority required by ordinance number 2020-23 to exercise this option, and then add on and shall not exceed 200,000.
So, through the
That would-
chair, I just took a chance to look at the previous ordinance, and this ordinance will need to be amended to add language, because that 200,000 is for the life of the contract.
The chairman is correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
It'll be for 100, not 200.
and so that's my second question, Mr. Chair, through to the interim director. The 200,000 for the renewal with Stantec is separate from the 100,000 that you're looking to encumber. We're actually talking about $300,000 here today, if I'm
would be
reading
correct.
this correct.
Yeah.
Through the chair to the interim, is that correct?
Yes. And so we would like it to not exceed 200,000, not 100,000.
That's your through the chair. You're okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay, but through the chair, then we also have the separate issue of the $100,000 encumbrance from 2024's budget, which I don't see in this ordinance at all, and I'm a little bit confused about how that even comes into play. It's part of the presentation, but I don't know how it becomes part of the ordinance.
So and let me jump in here. The 200 was for the original contract.
The contract is 200.
You had 10,000 balance. You've used that. So now you want, instead of 100,000 that's in your presentation, you want us to not to exceed $200,000. And why should we do that? I don't understand. I don't know what the. I'm
Yeah,
lost
Mr.
here.
Chair, what we're asking here for is for $100,000 in our 2024 budget to be carried forward into our 2025 budget to apply to this contract. So the contract with Stantec would still not exceed 200, but we're taking $100,000 in 2024 that we didn't spend to carry
That's the
forward.
remaining balance, right?
That's not the remaining balance of the Stantec contract.
Mr. Chair, I think they're unrelated funds.
They are.
Yeah.
It's unrelated funds. Okay.
And
We have
Mr.
$100,000 in our budget, Mr. Chair, that we want to apply to this
Okay.
$200,000 contract.
Gotcha. But you want 200 for us to not to exceed $200,000.
Right.
Yes.
Well, you don't have enough money in your budget to cover $200,000. You only have $100,000 that.
From 2024, Mr.
Right.
Chair.
We haven't passed 2025 budget yet.
Right.
I'm not going to give you another $100,000 if we haven't passed 2025 budget yet. You're assuming that you're going to get enough money in your 2025 budget to support the $200,000 request, right?
Yeah, well, can we do it not to exceed 200,000 with the anticipation that we'll get the 100,000? I mean, not necessarily, I guess maybe I'm not saying this.
If we only have
But
100,000
if we-
in our budget.
Yes.
Right, if
We'll
you
only spend 100.
approve it, then we won't be able to spend it. So
Oh,
that's-
no.
No.
I'm not
okay.
doing that.
Well, I think
No,
we've,
it's, okay, so maybe we need to work on the language but we want to be able to, when we get once the budget passes, if the $100,000 passes, we would like to be able to use it. So the question is, how do we word the legislation to ensure that we're not stuck at $100,000?
What I would recommend, and because there's $100,000 in your current budget that can be applied, right? I just don't feel comfortable authorizing $200,000, and your budget only has $100,000 that's available for you to do this work. As we go along this process, and we begin to see, and Mr. Titron, we see when they give us the what do we call it? Pre-budget summary to us that we get, and there is a intent to add that additional dollars. The $100,000 get you going. You come back, we'll meet quickly, and we will accommodate your real request. I'm not okay with that, right?
Okay.
so, Mr. Chair, just so I understand, you'll authorize us for a contract renewal up to $100,000.
Yes.
And when we come back through budget,
We'll make them.
if we have another 100,000 or whatever the amount may end up being,
Yes.
up to 200.
Correct.
You authorize us at that time to renew a contract.
Correct, and it could be more
to
if
200.
if the
If we
body
have more.
allocates more to you, right?
Got
Correct.
it. Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
Yes, and because you have that $100,000 available to you now, and we haven't passed 2025 budget
Right.
yet, and so I don't want to put the cart before the horse, right? And so.
We're just trying to be efficient with our time, Mr. Chair. and
Oh, no, I
understand
get
your
you. Listen,
concern.
we want to
Yeah.
support you to make so that you are efficient. And so
you, sir.
I think we have it worked out.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think we also just want to keep all of our, lines straight. So, Mr. Chair, for the clarity of the body, I think what we're doing is we're authorizing a $100,000 rollover from the 2024 budget into the into the Stantec contract, and using the right to extend this contract from 2023, using the language from 2023 to authorize the $100,000 that the department currently has unencumbered to this contract. Is
Yes.
that it?
Correct.
Am I making it worse?
A little bit, but we're going to pause there. Our attorney has a comment.
Quick question. I just want to ask through the chair, has the first year come up yet?
The first year was 2024.
So it ended December 31st.
Yeah.
And then there's an additional $10,000 on the budget currently that you want to spend in 2025?
Yes.
Okay. Because I think if there's changes,
No,
no change.
that was incorrect.
Oh, that was incorrect.
The $10,000 from the original contract of $200,000 is being spent.
It's done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That was my
Okay,
question.
sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
So
just
we're
to see if we need to move
it's-
forward with this so they can be authorized to spend that $10,000.
It's a $100,000 that the department has not spent that they want to put onto this contract.
Correct.
I'm sorry.
And so,
I
We got
forgot
it.
about that.
We got it. 10 grand. We know. We
Yeah,
use
no,
10,000.
what he was reminding me of is that the contract actually expires in February
With Stantec.
with Stantec.
Right. So it expires in February.
Yeah.
They're going to spend that remaining 10,000. As of this, when they made this slide, the 10 wasn't dedicated, but they've dedicated it to the Buckeye, Wood Hill neighborhood. So that'll be done.
Yes.
That's why they're looking ahead to say, hey, February is coming. We got some stuff we want to do. Let's go ahead and authorize our $100,000 that we still have remaining in our budget to put towards Stantec.
Yes.
All right.
All
Okay.
right.
You got it.
We're good to go.
Mr. Chair, I believe I'd like to offer an amendment.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'd offer the amendment in Section 1 of Ordinance 1167, 2024, Section 1, line 5. Remove the period after option and insert "and shall not exceed $100,000."
All right.
And then that is the $100,000 they're moving from the department onto this contract.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Just to advise, so the total though, we had a $200,000 contract. We're adding 100,000. So should it the not to exceed be 300,000?
No, because
No.
this 1167 is authorizing the option to renew. So this
Yes.
is going to be a
Should
new.
May I advise saying shall not exceed $100,000 for the first option year?
Oh, sure. So, Mr. Chair, I amend the amendment, Section 1, line 5, replace the period with "and shall not exceed $100,000 for the first option year."
Is that sufficient?
Does that language jive?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So we're exercising the first option. The initial chairman, I guess, was the budget intended to be $200,000 annually?
I think that's kind of what we were looking at.
So why are we only doing 100,000 for next year?
Nobody's clear on what
So it's 100,000 encumbered from the previous budget, plus 100,000 that we put into the new budget, so it will be 200,000.
So the budget for next year would still be that 200,000?
Right.
Okay.
because they're anticipating more money in 2025.
But
We haven't got there yet.
the original 2022 ordinance, which was enacted in 2023, didn't specify annual renewal amounts. It just said that it could be renewed. And so this is the ordinance coming back asking for a renewal.
Of $100,000.
But the issue at hand here is that they've got $100,000 in the department unspent. So we're applying that $100,000 to this contract, but they haven't been authorized to put more money on top of this for this coming budget year.
Thank you. So, Chairman, they haven't been authorized through their general expenditures budget for the additional 100.
Yes, sir.
Understood. All right.
There we are.
I'm clear now.
Gotcha.
All right.
All right. All right. So we have a motion on the floor to not to exceed $100,000 for the option that they're renewing, the one year option that they're renewing here. Is there a second? Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Sit on discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. The motion passes. Any further discussions on 1167-2024? So no further discussions. Ordinance number 1167-2024 as amended stands approved. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.
Get it together. Come back. All right.
We got it.
Thank you. It is freezing. Somebody get Bonnie on the phone. We need to turn the heat on.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
yes,
did attempt on that thing, but
Did
I'm
you?
going to text
Okay.
her as well.
Bonnie, we need you to come get this heat together.
Director Williams, Chief Tewan, it is freezing in the committee room,
All
if you're
right.
listening.
Your people are cold too.
All right. Ordinance number 1276. That'll give them incentive, huh? That's right.
Yeah.
Ordinance number 1276-2024 by Councilmember McCormack, emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with the Merrick House to provide economic development assistance to partially finance renovation of Merrick House's security systems, kitchen, bathroom, and gymnasium wall in order to increase client capacity for early childhood education and child care. All right. Good morning, Director. Good morning to you. I see you got a good friend of mine here at the table with you this morning, so you should be okay this morning. All right.
I texted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I move that you allocate additional resources to the heating system in the building.
All right.
Joined here today by Franny O'Toole, our neighborhood investment manager for the Near West Side, as well as Harriet Hadley, the executive director of Merrick House and her associate. Really excited to be here today. I know this is part of the Transformative Neighborhood Project allocation by Councilman McCormack. Merrick House has been an institution on the Near West Side since 1919, providing critical after-school and childhood services care for members across the Near West Side at all different income levels. I want to give an opportunity for Ms. Hadley to talk a little bit about the project and the impact that Merrick House has in the community, and go from there.
All right, Ms. Hadley. And just tap it for it to turn green on the bottom. Gotta press it hard. In the middle at the bottom?
It says push.
Yeah, that's what I'm pushing. Okay, there you go. All right. Didn't get it hard enough. Well, good morning, and thank you so much for inviting us down. Thank you, Councilman McCormick. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the project. We did an RFP with the Mandel Foundation, and we were approved to get renovations done to the building. As you know, Merrick House has been in existence over 100 years. The building has been in existence for the last 80, and we have not had significant improvements in the building within 80 years. So it's draining us, you know, because doing all the repairs with the HVAC, with plumbing, with electricity, the building is in dire need.
It's gonna be allowed.
So we were very fortunate to receive one of the settlement houses that received dollars from the Mandel Foundation, which was about $350,000 to do improvements. So we looked at the bathrooms, the repairs that we needed urgently were the bathrooms, the kitchen, because we're having our health department inspections and we're always getting dinged because of water pressure, floors aren't even, you know, things that we can't fix, you know, without doing critical renovations. So this is a project that we're all very excited to embark on. We approached Councilman McCormick, and he's so graciously invited us to apply for the ARPA dollars. So we're very excited about this project.
All right. Thank you. I don't know why I didn't put it together, but good to see you this morning.
Nice seeing you.
Anyone else have any comments?
Oh, sure.
Yes. Anybody from your side or no? You good? All right. Councilman McCormack?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the director is being very kind here. She has been lobbying for support for years. So I want to give her those kudos. Mr. Chairman, it's my pleasure to introduce this piece. Merrick House is an incredible community partner for the city of Cleveland and many others. I mean, on everything from youth recreational programming to maternal care and beyond and beyond and beyond. And so I wish we could give $10 million to Merrick House, but yeah. But truly, this is a wonderful community organization with great leadership for the community. And again, I know the Tremont neighborhood loves Merrick House, but it's much larger, of course, than that. They serve a much larger net. So really important funding to ensure that the building is updated and serving our children, our families, our mothers in the community, and folks that really need the services at Merrick House. So I ask for my colleagues' support on this piece. I think this is an organization that has very much demonstrated its impact in our community and is well deserving of the support from the city of Cleveland.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to comment. My daughters play volleyball at the Merrick House, and one of the greatest things about maintaining these buildings is that you step into the past when you walk into these buildings. The building is well taken care of, but you're walking into history. When you go into these buildings, you know that you're standing in a building where generations of kids have played games, right? And there's a number of these buildings throughout the city. And every time I walk into another one, it's like a time machine. It's like a capsule, and it's a wonderful feeling. And I'm really glad that my kids get to experience that as well. It shouldn't be something that we take away because we tear everything down and build new. And the Merrick House has been doing the Lord's work for as long as I've been in Cleveland. I'm very happy to vote for this, and I just wanted to share that experience that we get. And every time I walk in, I'm like, oh, my kids are walking into the past, and it's good for them. It's good for them to connect to the history of this city by being in your building. So thank you for making it so available to everybody.
Thank you. And I would be interested in having a tour. I haven't been there since I was probably like 15. So,
Oh, absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely.
we should do that with council.
Yes.
Congratulations. It is a great organization. As you say, it's beyond Tremont because I know Clark Fulton families also benefit from the organization. So thank you.
Thank you so
Congratulations.
much.
Any other questions from my colleagues? Okay, thank you. Congratulations, and we will move this forward.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Sorry for the chill.
It's just a little chill.
They're supposedly coming up to fix it, so.
Heat, air conditioning, we don't know.
The heat comes down from above, and that's not the way it wants to go, so the heat comes down and it goes from
What number is that?
It is 1276.
Okay, so 1276 has been
2024.
approved. 2024 has been approved. Okay, what is next?
Got one more, 1252.
1252, you have that? There we go. So next one, 1252, 2023. It's an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Burton Bell Carr Development, Inc., or designate to provide economic development assistance to partially finance renovation of storefronts and office space associated with the Moreland Theater building on Buckeye Road. Director?
Thank you, Councilwoman and members of the body. So really excited to be sitting here, joined by Foma Zepe from our team, as well as Joy Johnson and Mike McBride from Burton Bell Carr. This is a really exciting project in the continued restoration of the Moreland Theater on Buckeye Road. I think that you may all recall last year we moved forward a very large project to bring back upwards of 10 buildings along Buckeye Road, all within 4 blocks of each other. This being a part of this, we allocated $3.89 million of the old neighborhood transformation initiative to help get that work off the ground. The Moreland Theater is the first one to be receiving funds of that. $102,000 went out the door to allow work to begin on the roof replacement before the weather hit, which is always the best place to start. And this $300,000 allows us to continue that work as we look to transform that corridor. But I'm going to go ahead and give some space here for Executive Director Joy Johnson to talk a little bit more about the work that you guys are doing specifically on the Moreland Theater.
Thank you, Director. Greetings, council members. Excited to be here this morning. I'm Joy Johnson, Executive Director of Burton Bell Carr. As Director McNair stated, we've been working closely with Councilwoman Deborah Gray on the south side of Buckeye, as well as Council President Blaine Griffin on the north side of Buckeye, to restore the Buckeye Commercial Corridor. Our vision is to create a arts, innovation, and technology district using the theater as a catalyst. And so we're very grateful for this additional support to help bring back a gym in the neighborhood and revitalize commercial.
Oh, your speaker, it's not on. You got to mind the microphone, turn it green, press the push. Yeah, push it hard, yeah.
When are we getting no microphones?
Haven't been
Okay.
here for a while.
Start over.
Start over. All right. Good morning to the esteemed council. Thank you, Director McNair. I'm Joy Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of Burton Bell Carr Development. And as Director McNair stated, we are working to revitalize the commercial corridor of Buckeye Road. On the south side of Buckeye, we work closely with Councilwoman Deborah Gray. On the north side of Buckeye, we work very closely with Council President Blaine Griffin. Our vision for the Buckeye Road Commercial Corridor is a arts, innovation, and technology district, of which the theater will be the anchor and catalyst. So we're very excited about these additional resources that can help jumpstart that renovation.
Thank you. Director, any other remarks, comments? No? Quick question before I turn it over to the council person of this ward. On section 4 says the contract authorizing legislation will require the recipient financial assistance to work with the Workforce Investment Board for workforce area number 3. What does that look like?
So I'll hand that over to Mrs. Epway, who's done a lot of work on this project.
You were on now. You gotta be on.
There you go.
Okay. Through the chair to the councilwoman, yes, we already have a workforce development agreement in place, and for the corridor, they plan to create a minimum of 18 full-time equivalent jobs. This project is part of that blanket workforce agreement that we established.
Got it. Great. Thank you. Congratulations, Councilwoman Gray. Any other questions before I turn it over to the councilwoman? No? Okay, Councilwoman Gray.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, colleagues, and also good morning to Executive Director George Johnson and Mike and our Director of Economic and Ifoma. I just want to say I am happy and pleased to have allocate these funds to the Mona's Theater because we've been working together for many, many years, way before I came council, hoping and praying that we was able to get the Mona's Theater up and running. So due to this allocation, I had spoke to Joy Johnson back in 2023 that we had actually tried to initiate another group of esteemed business people to help open up the Mona's Theater prior to last year of getting the 3.9 million. We were just in conversation. So due to that, it got kind of held up. We held the money back. I got a call yesterday saying, from Ifoma, that the money was still in economics and we was able to move on with this $300,000. I was so excited. So yes, I am thrilled and I'm happy to approve this $300,000. Going to the Mona's Theater so we can do what we want to do with the Mona's Theater as in opening up for the youth and also for jobs and other entertainment. Of the plan. So I just want to say I'm glad that I'm still part of this whole project and thank everyone for, bringing it to the table.
Thank you. Okay, no other questions from my colleagues. 1252-2023 has been approved. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
We have no other legislation, so we are done. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Happy New Year and adjourn.